Hi, this is Charles. How you doing? Nice to see you all again. I hope you're having a good day. It's a lovely hot day here in London. Like we had a really nice weekend as well, so the weather's great. But the hot weather does not seem to be doing much to thwart this virus. That I remember the scientists were saying that in the winter the warmer after the winter had ended, the warmer weather would do something about this virus, because the virus started in the winter time when it was cold in China, and they were saying it will respond to hot weather and it might kill the virus, and they even said this is why hot countries are not getting the virus. Well, this has proved wrong, hasn't it? Because countries in Asia, in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia and in particular the Philippines, are suffering badly now with this virus, and the Philippines cases have gone right up. And unlike the UK and America, there's no safety net, there's no government measures. In America, they've been giving people $30,000 a year or $600 a week, I think, just like a job furlough type of situation, because 45 million people there applied, registered for unemployment. And I think that there are still over 20 million unemployed, and many of those will remain unemployed. But in hot countries, and the virus is still running amok. And I know that watching the news in the Philippines today, that people are literally out on the streets. They're begging for food, and things are a lot tougher there than they are here. I mean, here we've got the furlough scheme, which is keeping a lot of people sort of working at home while the employers don't have to pay all of their salary. But when that comes to an end, I think we're going to see a bit of a bloodbath in the employment market here. It just has to happen, because the way things are going, the virus doesn't seem to be going away. It's spiking again in several areas of the country, and this is after we've had all the lockdown measures for the last nearly 5-6 months now. We've had all these measures to stay at home, wash your hands, stay safe, all this sort of stuff. People have been working from home, and there's all this testing going on, and medication and all this sort of stuff that's been going on. I mean, this is a big economy here. We've done a lot here to try and thwart this, and yet it's coming back, and particularly in areas in the northwest and Yorkshire. Manchester has now declared a state of major incident, as they call it, a major incident state, which is similar to where there's a big flood or a terrorist threat. I mean, they have the powers to bring in the army if necessary, but I don't think it's going to happen. But it's quite a big thing. Now, the other thing is that major employers are starting, should have been bringing back employees back to work in the offices, because the government wants to encourage them to get people out again, get people out spending in the city centres. But that's not happening. 62%, I believe, of employers have just said, no, we're keeping workers at home. I don't think this is particularly to ignore the government. I think that's the way they want to do things. I think that the things may change permanently. They may keep a lot of their staff at home working remotely rather than having them in the office, and a lot of offices could close down. We could see landlords in trouble if offices just close down and people just move out and say, well, here's the keys. I'm not saying big companies will do that, but big companies may start disposing of offices, and it's a big change. I think then the next stage to that is then to start outsourcing jobs further afield, like the Far East, which could happen again. I think we've been through a lot of that already, and I think it's not been the panacea that most employers thought it would, because they thought, it's easy, you just outsource to India or the Philippines. But there are a lot of problems with this. It doesn't always work exactly as employers thought. I won't go any further than that. But the other thing that's happening in London is that last week Boris Johnson announced further lockdown measures. He announced a reintroduction of some of the lockdown measures, and they kind of put the brake on the easing of restrictions that were supposed to, from this month, allow businesses to get back, like beauty salons and that sort of thing, and live events as well. And he said we're gently putting the foot on the brake, but it sounds like a screeching U-turn to me, like a handbrake turn, because it's affecting jobs and companies that were thought they would get back to normal, some sort of normality this month, and now can't. London Theatreland is in darkness. All the theatres are shut. 5,000 jobs are due to go there, and that will affect the whole area. If you go to the Theatreland in Covent Garden and places like that, it's always teeming with people. This time in the evening they're rushing in, having their pre-theatre meal. It's part of the London culture to go out to see a show, shoot into a little Italian restaurant in Covent Garden, get a quick pasta or a quick meal, and they do these. You can see the waiters rushing around pre-theatre dinner with a glass of wine, and then you go to the theatre and maybe have a drink afterwards. But all of those little restaurants and pubs will be severely affected, and it's part of London's economy. It's a multi-billion-pound economy. Big shows, Mamma Mia, Hamilton, Tina, and dozens of others. London is full of theatres. It's a great place to come. It brings in tourists into London to see these big shows. So that's a big blow to them. And I still don't understand why they allowed cinemas to open but not theatres. Why pubs are allowed to open but not theatres. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Now, the other interesting statistic is that there are only, in terms of jobs advertised at the moment, there's only half the amount of jobs being advertised at the moment, says one leading advertiser, as there were last year compared to the same time this last year. And that's not good news. That means, we're seeing a trend which is going in the wrong direction after we saw record numbers of people employed, not more than 6 months ago. So that's not very good news. However, the Eat Out to Help Out scheme has launched this month, and this is a bid to boost restaurant trade. So on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday you can go to eat in restaurants that have registered for the scheme, and you'll get a 50% discount on your meal if you eat it there. It applies to food and soft drinks, but not to alcoholic drinks, maybe for obvious reasons. You could be buying, getting drunk on the government. It doesn't quite add up, does it? People are saying it's too complicated. I don't see what is complicated about it, really, to be honest. Hopefully it will boost the restaurant trade. They really need this. And I think there is a financial limit on it, but it's still a good thing. It's a bit of a gesture. It's only for this month. It might get people out and about, but not me, unfortunately. I'm not going to sit in a restaurant with other people not wearing a mask. It's bad enough walking down the street and 90% of the people are not wearing a mask despite this spike in the virus. So why would I want to sit next to people on a bus or in a restaurant that are not wearing masks? And people are ignoring this mask, even in shops. They're not always following the rules. I was in a small shop the other day, and this middle-aged woman, not looking very healthy, I'll leave it at that, walks in, no mask. So what does the shop do? She's given them money. Is the shop going to say, get out of my shop? No, they're going to take the money and take the chance. The staff weren't wearing masks, but they own the shop. So, can they afford to turn people away as you could say a security man in Tesco's telling you to wear a mask or bugger off? They're not going to do that in small shops. So it's putting people at risk, really. But how can you enforce it? How can small shops enforce it? I don't think they can. Now, last week we said that UK property prices had jumped about 3% since June. And this follows, obviously it follows pent-up demand and getting back to normal. But it also follows a stamp duty holiday cut in stamp duty until next March. But why are property prices going up? And in fact, the same trend is happening in parts of America. And some experts believe that it's just due to less property being on the market and the old supply and demand thing, that, the basics of economics, supply and demand, when there's less supply and demand goes up, it pushes prices up. And that's what I think is happening. Agents are saying there's not enough properties that they have inventory to sell, and therefore they can command higher prices on the properties that they have. And I think that's what's happening. There's less properties around, and vendors are able to get good prices for their property. And as I said, there's also pent up demand. Now this could change. I think once this initial period is over, then we could see a bit of a change after that. And I don't know. My gut feeling is that the stock market and the property market are overpriced, and they're due for a big correction when economic reality hits and the furlough scheme comes to an end, and that's going to happen in America as well, and then the stuff's going to hit the fan, and I think that's when the market will say, hold on, let's sell everything, and prices will drop for a longer period, I think. And if it doesn't happen this year, if interest rates and stamp duty cuts keeps the property market going until next year, I think it will happen at some stage next year. To me, it just doesn't. Reality is not here, because the market the market is bad in terms of jobs, in terms of the economy, and yet the stock market is going up and the property prices are staying high. Now, also, you've got to bear in mind with property is that it is very much regional, as it is in America, and some areas are still suffering, other areas are going up, and it depends where the jobs are, where people's incomes are. Did you know that in London, to be in the top 10% of earners in London, you'd have to be earning about £86,000, but to be in the top 10% of earners in Wales, you'd only have to earn £50,000. That shows you there's a big disparity between London, South East, and the rest of the country. So property is not exactly going to boom everywhere, but I think when the job furlough scheme starts to unwind and unravel, then I think we are going to see some serious issues with property and the economy as a whole. They say that unemployment could reach 10% and the recession could last till 2024. That's one think tank that says that. Now, good news for some businesses in Britain, that is that staycations, more people are staying at home in the country and having their holidays here. So all the hotels, everywhere you go, all around the coast, are all fully booked, pretty much so anyway. That's what they're saying on the news. I'm sure you can get something somewhere, but everything is booming in terms of home holidays. And that's good news for the UK economy, that people won't be taking their money out to the Mediterranean. But it's obviously bad news for Spain, which is really suffering with an increased spike also in COVID-19, and Britain imposing restrictions on people going there and coming back. So, but it is good news for people in the UK. Now, one thing you should do is check your travel insurance. Even if you are taking a holiday in the UK, make sure you've got travel insurance, and make sure that you're covered for COVID-19. I had this letter from the Nationwide a couple of months ago because I've got an annual travel insurance policy with them. I pay one fee and I can have as many trips and holidays, because a weekend break is like a holiday, so you should have travel insurance for that, because if something goes wrong, you lose stuff, you've got nothing. Most people buy travel insurance when they go on holiday and then it's cancelled when they come back. A good idea is to have an annual one if you're going away more than once a year. And they slip this into you see this letter, it's in with your bank statement. So you normally pick out the bank statement and throw away the junk mail, but I sort of kept this for some reason. And it says, insurance is there to help with the unknown foreseeable events. As coronavirus is now a known event, UK Insurance Limited, our insurance provider, has confirmed that cover will not be available for this, because they know about it now. So this also applies to any new upgrades and you even trips you booked before the 18th of March. But actually, no, if you book trips before the 18th of March, cover is available for claims relating to coronavirus pandemic. But a lot of insurance companies are changing their terms for obvious reasons, I suppose. Hiscox Travel Insurance are suffering heavy losses due to cancellation charges and refunds and that sort of thing. So that's another part of the economy that will be badly affected. And as you know, there's a court case going on at the moment with the regulator and the insurance companies with regards to claims for business interruption on coronavirus. So that's pretty much the news today. I think it's not great news, obviously, that the economy, apart from some sectors of the economy, are doing well, like holiday resorts and that sort of thing, but they've lost money for months and months, haven't they? This will hopefully get some of the money back and they can maybe put their prices up, but they've been losing money hand over fist for months, and they'll never get that money back. That business is gone. So good luck to them if they can get a bit more business in, but it is going to be tough out there. It's all right if you're Jeff Bezos and Amazon. He's doing really well with all the home delivery stuff, and Facebook, Google, and all these companies are doing really well at the moment. But the normal economy, even Apple are doing well, but the normal economy, the average person going out there working, it's very tough at the moment. Think of all the cab drivers, the Uber drivers, the people working in restaurants. It's really tough for them. So I do wish you all well, and hope that this bloody virus will end soon and we can all get back to a normal life. But I don't think it's going to happen soon. Holidays abroad are more or less out the question, I think, till next year. Even if you want to go away, a lot of countries are restricting you when you get there with lockdown measures. So what's the point? And then if you come back, you might have another lockdown. So a 2-week holiday could turn out to be 2 months. But anyway, there you go. So thanks for listening, and thanks for everyone who tuned in on Facebook Live. Also, great to see you. Nice to see everybody there. Good to see you all. Hi everybody. Cecile, Iko, everybody. Good to see you. Thanks a lot. Always welcome your comments. Good night. Bye for now.